A very good morning, class 6. Today we'll be talking about the process of digestion. The digestive organs chemically act upon the food you eat and convert it into molecules that can be absorbed by your body. Okay, so the process of converting complex food into simple absorbable form is known as digestion. So, from mouth till anus, where does your food goes, what is all about the process, we'll be taking one by one. As you can see in the figure, mouth breaks the food particles into smaller pieces, okay, and then with the help of teeth it is chewed and softened by saliva. The saliva is secreted by salivary gland. Now this saliva contains an enzymes known as salivary amylase or ptyalin, okay, which acts as a starch or a carbohydrate that breaks maltose. Maltose is a form of sugar. Okay, so in the mouth what happens? Starch changes into maltose with the help of salivary amylase. The softened, slightly digested food becomes semi-solid ball called bolus, which is swallowed. You call it in your Hindi language as nivala, na? So that is bolus. Now, from your mouth, the food enters to the pharynx region. So I have already told you what is pharynx, and then the oesophagus or esophagus. The food is swallowed into the pharynx and then passes through the esophagus. The muscles of esophagus push the food towards the stomach. So this just acts as a traveling agent which provides the pathway of food to go into the stomach. So no digestion takes place in the pharynx and oesophagus region. Now the main part, what happens in the stomach? The muscles of the stomach wall contract rhythmically. Okay, they have a rhythm and they crush and mix the food with gastric juices that are present inside your stomach. This gastric juices kills bacteria and helps in the digestion of protein. What? Protein. The stomach contains two enzymes known as pepsin and renin. Now, pepsin changes larger protein molecules into smaller proteins called proteoses or peptones. This is very important for you all that you have to learn these names. It contains two enzymes. Stomach contains two enzymes, pepsin and renin. Pepsin converts larger protein into smaller protein molecules known as proteoses and peptones. Now, renin changes milk protein, that is casein, okay, into paracasein, that is insoluble curd. Food moves out from the stomach into the intestine. From stomach, the food goes into the intestine. Now, intestines are two, I have already told you. They are small intestine and large intestine. Both intestines have their own properties of function, okay. Now, the digestion of food, that is chyme. Chyme is what? Now, a thick paste of whatever you have taken is known as chyme, takes place in upper part of small intestine. There, bile from the gallbladder. You can see in the figure there is a gallbladder. Okay, in the gallbladder there is bile. Okay, so bile is stored in gallbladder. It does not contain any enzymes, but bile helps in breaking down the fat into tiny droplets. Stomach breaks down protein. Then comes small intestine, in which bile breaks down the fat. Okay, now what happens? It breaks down the fat. It provides alkaline medium for the action of enzymes in the pancreatic juice like trypsin and lipase. Now, trypsin acts on protein. In the small intestine, trypsin acts on protein and lipase enzymes act on fats. Trypsin, when acts on protein, they convert proteoses and peptones, जो कि stomach में already conversion हो चुका है. That means protein is converted in the form of proteoses and peptones in the stomach. Now, from that proteoses and peptones, this trypsin converts this protein into polypeptides. Okay, but you have to learn these terms. Okay, now the further breakdown of amino acids into smaller protein units of protein. So trypsin does what? It breaks down the proteins into very smaller portions, forming amino acids. Whereas lipase acts on fat to change them into fatty acids and glycerols. Now fats, with the help of lipase enzymes, converts into fatty acid and glycerol. Abhi, what about sugar? Sugar is also digested in small intestine. So small intestine has a very important role. It digests what? Protein, it digests fat, it digests sugar also. So maltase is converted into maltose, then maltose into glucose. Maltose is a form of sugar that converts into glucose in the by the action of maltase enzyme. And then second enzyme is sucrase. It converts what? Sucrose into glucose and fructose. And this lactase changes into lactose into glucose and galactose. These are all forms of sugar used in your body. Okay. Now the small intestine not only digests the food but also absorbs. So absorption takes place in small intestine. Very important. The digested food passes through thin walls of blood capillaries and enters to the bloodstream. And this is called absorption. The process of absorption takes place in small intestine. Okay, the reabsorption of water takes place in large intestine. Now we will talk about food in the large intestine. Some food that cannot be digested is therefore not absorbed in the blood, right? So this food moves down into the large intestine where excess of water is reabsorbed. Reabsorption, again the absorption takes place. Whatever is left by small intestine gets reabsorbed by large intestine, and then the undigested food forms fecus. You call it as your waste product that you go in the morning and you discard out. This fecus moves into rectum and then it passes out through anus in the regular interval. This is called egestion. Now we'll talk about assimilation. All the absorbed nutrients are not used immediately by the body, right? So they are changed into various forms that can be stored whenever you need it. So this storage, the process of transport and absorb nutrients are stored. So this storage is called assimilation, where glucose is converted into glycogen because instantly you need glucose. So at right now maybe you do not require glucose. So where will the glucose go? It will get stored in the form of glycogen in liver. So whenever you require, the liver converts glycogen into glucose and immediately it gives you. So excess of glucose is converted into fat and it is stored in adipose tissues, the tissues that are present in your human body. Fatty acid that provides energy is stored under the skin of fat. So amino acids are used for the synthesis of protein. So excess amino acids gets converted into urea and is removed by the blood in the kidneys in the form of urine. Clear? So what happens? Excess of everything you do not require immediately, so they get converted into glycogen. When we talk about sugar, it gets converted into glycogen and it is stored in the liver. When we talk about excess of glucose, it converts into fat and it is stored in adipose tissues. Whereas when we talk about amino acid, it converts into urea and it is removed from the blood by the kidneys in the form of urine. Clear? Then we'll be talking about indigestion. You may have sometimes experienced a pain or burning sensation in your upper part of your stomach, right? Because you feel discomfort. So this is what this process, this condition is known as indigestion, also known as dyspepsia. Okay? It refers to a condition when a person suffers from pain in the abdominal region or heartburn, difficulty in digestion of food. So what are the common symptoms of indigestion? It is pain or burning sensation in the upper region, bloating, you feel like gas is there, nausea, fainting sensation, you feel like your tummy is full always, you give a burping, we call it in Hindi, no, dakar lena. Then you have a upset stomach, belching and regurgitation, a sound comes from your stomach. When you take a burp, dakar jab aap lete, you have a acidic taste in your mouth. So this shows that you are having a problem of indigestion. Now we'll talk about what are the causes of indigestion. Now, eating very spicy or oily food can cause indigestion. Lying down on soon after meal, overeating, drinking too much of water between meals, drinking alcohol and sometimes cold drink with meals This causes indigestion, anxiety, and depression. So, there are various things that can cause indigestion. So, with this, we complete the chapter of your digestive system. Hope the topics are crystal clear to you. Now, the table 4.2, you need to learn it thoroughly because it is very important to know which enzymes converts what and in which part. So this is the table of 4.2. You have to learn thoroughly. You need to learn that the large intestine has three parts into it, known as cecum, colon, and rectum, whereas the small intestine has three parts to be known as duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Let's have a quick recapitulation about the digestive system. Food enters from your mouth, then tongue, what do the tongue do? It mixes the food with the saliva, and teeth just masticates or chew it. Then the food in the form of bolus moves into the pharynx. The pharynx is connected to esophagus, so this acts as a passage of going the food. Now the food enters into the stomach region where gastric juices are present. Okay, and this gastric juices kill bacteria and helps in digestion. It contains two enzymes in the stomach. They are pepsin and renin. Clear? Now pepsin does what? It breaks down the larger protein molecules into smaller protein molecules in known as proteoses and peptones, whereas renin breaks down the milk protein into paracasein, insoluble curd. ठीक है? Then from there the food that was bolus now known as chyme because it is forming a thick paste. Now the food moves into the liver. Now in the liver region a bile is there. The bile is stored, okay, in the gallbladder. This does not contain any enzyme, but it helps in the digestion of food by breaking down the fat into tiny droplets. Okay. Now it enters to the small intestine. Now the small intestine has three parts into it known as duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Where in duodenum the food mixes with bile and then emulsification, I told you, of fat proteins takes place. Then in jejunum nothing, the food moves into the ileum. Now ileum secretes some intestinal juice where digestion continues and absorption takes place in the form of blood capillaries with the help of villi. Okay. Now it enters to the large intestine. The undigested or remaining food enters into the large intestine where reabsorption takes place, and then from cecum to colon absorption of water takes place, then rectum undigested or fecus takes place, and then from anus it out or excreted out. So this is all about the pathway how food goes. Again I am telling you the names of the enzymes and their conversion is very important for you to take understand. What is emulsification of fat? The process into tiny droplets for enzyme action is known as emulsification of fats. Last, what is villi? It is a finger-like present in small intestine that helps in the absorption of food. So with this, we complete the chapter. I hope this chapter is crystal clear to you. Thank you.